What is up, everybody? Thanks for checking out episode 53 of the Trainer's Scoop podcast. Very happy to bring you a new guest to the podcast, Mr. Max Strazny. I said it right?
Sure did. Right on.
Perfect. So Max, very interesting guy that caught my eye from the RP Team Full ROM. I guess it's not really the RP, but the Team Full ROM forum Facebook group. Also seen his Instagram and YouTube. So definitely go ahead. And if you're not operating a heavy vehicle or other machinery, go check him out. Check out the links in the description. But Max is a St. Louis University physical therapy student. He is, like I said, a stellar content creator and looking to be competing in his first show, right, Max?
First show, yep.
In his first show on September 24th at the NANBF, correct?
Right on. You
right
got
on.
it.
Let's go. That acronym is it's a tough one, but
I know it's a long federation name, man.
right. But looking to make that natural debut very shortly within about a month. So be on the lookout as you're following along with Max. Max, appreciate you for coming onto the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me on. Excited to be here.
Yes, sir. So I always like to kind of hear where it all began from my guests. So give me a quick little overview of from where it started for you in this fitness space to where you are now, my man.
Yeah. All right. So this story would start back into my sophomore year of high school. So before my sophomore year of high school, I'd go to the gym quite a few times, mostly for soccer, other sports that I was playing during high school or middle school or whatever. For my entire life, I've been a swimmer, a soccer player, and those have primarily been the sports that I was in. So, being so cardio heavy, those sports kept me always super lean, and I was really skinny. So sophomore year of high school, I was 115 pounds at 6 feet tall. So I was a really skinny kid. And basically during my sophomore year of high school, I kind of decided that I wanted to try lifting on my own, not going to the gym and being coached by the strength and conditioning coaches at high school, which for the record, early on. So I started lifting for a few weeks, and then I hurt myself. It was actually a back injury that I got. So I thought it wasn't a big deal, but it turned out to be a big deal. So I ended up going to the doctor. I had to get an MRI and everything. It was a bulging disc in my spine, which was causing nerve compression. So right away, I just fucked myself up. And from then on, the doctors told me that I should never squat and deadlift in my life again. And I really kind of took that and threw it in the trash. And I was like, all right, I have goals with this, and I'm not going to let this injury stop me. And this has really been the way that I've led my life for a long time, is people will tell me stuff, and I'll do the exact opposite. So I was bullied a lot in middle school, and told how small I was, and I always got bullied for shit. But that never stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. And so that's really kind of what started my fire in fitness. And with that back injury, it also really sparked a fire to learn as much as I can about the human body, and more specifically anatomy, and trying to figure out how I can understand anatomy in the context of training, so I would be able to train in a way that wouldn't exacerbate my injury, and I would be able to pursue the goals that I wanted to pursue, which included getting stronger, getting bigger, etc. And that's when I started a 5x5 program, and 6 months down the road, I had no problems with my back at all. I was squatting and deadlifting My parents even at the time thought that I was just going to the gym to like do cardio or something. Like I just like told them that's what I was doing because the doctors were so against it. But pretty much from the first time I started lifting on that 5x5 program, I had like started recording for just making YouTube content because I had made YouTube content for years prior of just dumb stuff like
Oh yeah, that
I
Dylan
made Clash.
paper towel fort in Walmart, baby.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of them. I built a paper towel fort. It actually got like 40K views, which
I
like at the time
know.
I was like, holy fuck. Yeah. Yeah, so that was one of them. But even before that, I like made just dumb videos with my friends. I like made Clash of Clans videos. Just like being a YouTuber had been something that I had really, really wanted to do from like a very young age. So I really just started recording from the start with my fitness journey. But it was also not just for content creation, but it was like primarily from the start, it was more so I could like actually look at my technique, see how things looked, if there were any modifications I should make, and stuff like that. But it really became like hitting two birds with one stone because I also started creating content with it super early on. And so that was now almost, I think, like 5 years ago. I think that was back in 2017 when I started. And I powerlifted for many years. Well, I mean, not many years. I competed once, and then I wanted to compete again, but then the pandemic hit. Wasn't able to compete at the show the meet I was planning on competing at, and then I had another like injury, and then I really got into bodybuilding. I would say like 2 years ago is when I got into it. So yeah, that's long story short.
Yeah, man. Love it. Are you 23, Max?
No, I'm actually 21.
21? Young as fuck. I was about to
Yep.
say, like, these timelines are okay. So did you just finish undergrad like extremely fast, or did you like skip grades? Just have
No, no. So I didn't skip grades, but the way my program here at St. Louis University works is like it's an accelerated program. So instead of like having 4 years of undergrad, it's just 3 years of undergrad, and then I have 3 years of graduate school. So like an accelerated program.
yeah. Okay, gotcha. Very cool. Nice. Dude, so many parallels between our stories there. Like also started, I was like 6'2", 132. I remember looking at
Oh
that scale
man.
weight when I first started lifting. I was like, holy fuck, I'm small. And sophomore year of high school as well. Always was,
Oh, for real.
yeah, yeah. Always was captivated by YouTube. Like, I'll tell you what, you're probably a YouTube OG as well, but like I was on YouTube back when I was watching Pokemon Diamond videos and I started making videos about Pokemon. And then of course that shit got deleted because I was mortified by it. But yeah, the coolest thing that stuck out to me is you have a very analytical eye that probably stemmed from some of those past injury experiences, and you had the confidence to go ahead and just record. Like that takes a lot because times were a little bit different. We're 4 years apart in age, and back when I was 16, right? Like I remember recording in the gym, and this dude was like, "Dude, what the fuck are you recording?" I was like, nothing, dude. And I just like stopped. So the fact that you were able
Yeah.
to have that confidence and then put it up on YouTube, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, people were definitely like that early on. Like I remember when I first started, I think I was using like my phone for a little bit, but then I pretty quickly got like a camera because I knew I wanted to continue doing it. And like people would always ask me like, "What are you recording for?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just recording my technique, you know." But in reality, I was like making YouTube videos out of it. So like it's not something I like talked about right away, but eventually people found out that I was making YouTube videos, and surprisingly, they were a lot more chill about it than I expected them to be.
Yeah. I feel like for any of the younger listeners out there, there's a channel that I subscribe to that does a lot of like how to for creating a YouTube channel, like camera equipment you might need, editing software, how to set up lights. And they're like little catchphrases. You got to just push record. And when you were telling me about that, that like just popped off in my mind. Like for all the younger guys out there, you're probably not going to be the strongest or most aesthetic in the gym. But if you want to do this thing, you got to just push record and send it. So that's really cool that you had the confidence to do that back then. And it pays off, man, because your YouTube is looking really clean.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, like I really appreciate your perspective of like just press and record. Like I feel like that's something that's like really important. Like when people are actually trying to start making content, like people always ask me like what's the best way to like get big in the fitness realm? And it's literally just to create content that you enjoy making and consistently do it and try and get better at it. Learn as much as you can and just don't quit. If you don't quit, something's going to happen eventually. So
Yeah, that segues perfectly into my next question, man, because it seems like some things have happened. You have about what, 24 and a half to 25,000 followers on YouTube, which is really impressive. And you have a couple partnerships, whether it be with
a Gorilla Mind.
Gorilla Mind. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was a product or the brand name. But yeah, that's a huge deal right there. Extremely popular brand and company as of late. So how did that kind of come about? Was it influenced by YouTube or just your other work outside of YouTube?
So that was influenced a lot by my YouTube. That's kind of what Gorilla was most interested at the time. But like I personally was like super interested in Gorilla ever since like Derek's first like More Play Smart 8's videos came out on YouTube. So like I was watching his videos on there, like I even watched his videos about like SARMs and steroids, just because it's like interesting. Not that I'm like on gear, like I'm not, but like it was just very interesting to me to like hear how like in detail and how scientific this guy was, and that he really knew what he was putting into his products. And at some point, I found out that Gorilla was like starting to do like affiliates and athletes. So I actually initially reached out to them, and then we talked, and one thing led to another, and then we started working together. I think that was about like a year and a half ago or so now.
Very cool. It's crazy how those relationships can form just from you starting back when you were in your teens to developing all the way. I'd say your production skills. I went and checked out some of those older videos. Naturally, your production has improved. Even just like little things that I noticed, like the way you backlight some of your videos, your audio is super crisp, and just the flow, the way you kind of introduce, get into the training, get into like a closing. It's all super clean. So that stuff matters. And I think that's important to pass along as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. What's been the coolest thing you've experienced or got to benefit from when working with Gorilla Mind?
The coolest thing I got to experience.
Imagine you get some commission, which is pretty cool.
Sure, yeah, the commission is cool. They have come out with quite a few like new products recently, especially like they just came out with protein, which was something that I was super excited about, because like before they came out with protein, I still had to like buy protein because protein just makes it so much more easy for me to like hit my macros every day. But when they came out with protein, that was probably something that I was like super excited about, because it's something I use on a daily basis. I use literally like 2 scoops of protein every single day during my prep, at least. Like I have to have 240 grams of protein a day, and like that's a lot of meat if you're getting that all from food. So I was super pumped when they came out with that, and like it's really become a huge staple in my everyday diet. So
Yeah. And I'm sure you probably get some like exclusive, like they'll give it to you. Maybe you even got to try it beforehand. So that's really cool that you've like been there for, I mean, a year and a half is a pretty long time, I guess, relative to how long the brand's been around. So you've kind of been there for quite some time to see the brand grow, see the products come out, and so that's really cool, dude.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I definitely appreciate like being part of it because they are like science based and they don't use any like proprietary ingredients or whatever. Like if a company is selling proprietary shit, like that is not a company to be a part of.
yeah. Yeah, I remember looking over their label. This was some time ago, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember, you have like your minimum efficacious dose of like, let's say like citrulline, for example, like the one of the main pump ingredients. I guess the studies indicate that 6 to 8 grams is a good place to be. But if I'm not mistaken, I think one of their products at least has 10 grams, which is I would say
Yep,
it's more beneficial. It's not a superfluous amount of that ingredient. And I just think, if a brand is willing to go above and beyond to really make sure that their product is helping you get a good training session in, and just kind of that ethical concept of we're going to go above and beyond, that's a great brand to associate yourself with.
totally agree.
Yeah. Also, to kind of to transition from your supplement deal, I also saw in the
Yeah.
bio that you're an RP intern. So I'm definitely interested to hear how that came about and what that kind of looks like on a day to day.
Sure. Yeah. So this was another thing where it was really me like starting the whole deal. Like I became a gorilla mind athlete by like hitting them up. And the same thing happened with RP. So, well, kind of. So 2 years ago, I had met Dr. Mike and Jared Feather and also Charlie at a bodybuilding show here in St. Louis. That was the NPC Midwest, I believe. So 2 years ago, I met them all there. So it was super cool. And I do have to give a special shout out to my coach, Samuel Canola. He just has, helped me make so many connections and like is such a good role model for me because the dude constantly challenges himself and he's won so many natural bodybuilding shows and I feel incredibly grateful to be coached by him for this prep. And it's just like just super surreal to just kind of end up in St. Louis for school, but then at the same time, like Sam's here, so it works out super well. But anyways, he took me along to that show. That was my first bodybuilding show I've ever attended. I didn't really know exactly what to expect, and most of the time I was in like the hotel room with like Charlie because Charlie was competing, and like I was there with Mike and Jared, so I was really getting like an inside scoop of what the shows are like and like really able to like talk to all these guys that like I just fanboyed the fuck out of at that time.
Oh yeah.
So it was like super cool, like probably one of the coolest experiences I've had like in bodybuilding and like being able to know the bodybuilding community and especially like the RP guys who I look up to a ton. uh so that was a great experience, but it was also a time when I was able to like really meet Mike and like I talked to him about my major, for example. So I was a little bit concerned that physical therapy wasn't the thing for me. Maybe I should do like athletic training or something like that. But through some conversation with him, I decided that physical therapy was the route for me. So it's definitely full. And then I talked about like other books and things I could read to become a better coach because I knew I wanted to do online coaching at some point. I hadn't started at that point. But then forward to about a few months ago, I was thinking about getting an internship and I knew I wanted an internship summer and like do I want to go work somewhere or something else that I could be cooler? I was like, what about RP? Is there anything I could do for them? So I ended up reaching out to Mike, who had been following me ever since like we met, 2 years ago. And like I asked him if there was anything I could do for him. And then it turned out that I would be basically running his TikTok. So I run Dr. Mike's TikTok, and now I also make some videos for the RP TikTok. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Dude, that's funny as hell because Dr. Mike's TikTok, is it still a thing? Right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. I remember it seemed like he was getting pissed off at it because he just did it on TikTok. But the videos were always
Yeah,
funny, man. Like the one with him and his wife, uh, where they had like little one-offs, like if you use the RP diet app, you can
yeah,
date a girl or some shit like that. Like it's good content.
dude, just like super random videos that he was making, and he just like I'm pretty sure he does like just hate the app.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So I think he was definitely excited to just have someone to like do it for him and not have to worry about it.
yeah. I gotta pay closer attention now that I know that you're the man behind the masterpiece that is Dr. Mike's TikTok. I think there was
Yeah.
another one as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like a couple months back, the one dude with like the self-defense classes was pretty big. And so
Oh yeah.
Dr. Mike like parodied that. That shit was so funny, bro. That shit
Yeah,
was-
it was like just kiss your friend or something. He was like gonna kiss Jared or give him a hug or something.
yeah. I remember that too. Now that you're talking about it. That's that's
Yeah.
that's cool, man. Couple of things I want to pick apart. But first, I want to talk about my first bodybuilding show experience because when you were
I'd
talking
love to
about,
hear about it.
dude, it was funny as fuck. So definitely not as productive as yours. I'll say that. My first bodybuilding show experience was the Arnold of 2021. So for those who don't know what the Arnold is, it's probably like the second most prestigious show in bodybuilding, in untested bodybuilding, I should say, because it's like the Olympia is that crown, and then the Arnold is, it's a pretty prestigious title as well. So in 2021, it got pushed back to September. It usually takes place in March. However, it was September. Me and one of my clients and best friend were like, dude, we live in Columbus. We got to go check this shit out. So we went, and prejudging was pretty cool. It's definitely not as exciting, or I guess the production value isn't as high as the finals, right? Understandable. So we come back for finals, and we're like, dude, fuck it, let's take edibles. So we took these edibles. And are you familiar with the fitness division for the ladies?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So for all the audience that doesn't know what fitness is, imagine a mix between bodybuilding and specifically physique is the category that I think they try to go off of. So very jacked women could outlift me. They look bigger than me and Max. And they also do like gymnastics, dance. They use props like streamers and shit. So we're just absolutely zooted, sitting in the very back row, like laughing our fucking asses off at this. And no offense to any of my
Oh my
fitness,
god.
but like it was just such an experience that I'll never forget it. Yeah, uh,
Hey, your first show.
dude, at my first show, and then I think
That is
I want to say Nick Walker won that one. I'm like 99% sure Nick Walker won. Um,
okay. So were you guys still there for like finals when you saw
yeah,
them
yeah, yeah,
competing too?
yeah. Like we eventually
Dude,
like
I
continued
feel
to
like
see.
that I feel like that would have been a crazy experience to be on edibles and then seeing like these dudes that are like just enormous.
Yeah, man, it's
Holy
wild.
fuck.
It is wild,
Yeah.
and that was a great show. Definitely not as productive as your first bodybuilding show though, because you made some good connections. I was just sitting there fucking stoned. Yeah, mom. Sorry about that one. Hope you like that.
That's
But
great.
I think to go back to a more poignant topic, that the lesson learned from your experiences, dude, it seems like you just like put yourself out there and it pays off. Talk to me a little bit about that. Do you agree, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like putting yourself out there like is really important, but also like putting yourself out there in an authentic way is I think what I would like term is most important. Like you can put yourself out there and be like creating this false persona, and then eventually you'll realize that this is a false persona of you, and then feel like super out of place when like you actually got somewhere with it. So I feel it's important to be authentic, creating content that you first and foremost enjoy creating, and like would watch. Like all the content that I produce, like if somebody else created the exact same content um, I would watch them too, you know, like it's all content that I really enjoy making and that provides some sort of value to other people. So like all my like contest prep videos, more recently, I've been a video every week for my contest prep, just in review of how the week went. You know, how like hunger, fatigue is, how training's going, everything like that. Like there's value in all of those videos, but they're also videos that are cool for me to make because they're a reflection of how the week went. And then like a year down the line, or then if I'm prepping again, I can look back at how my prep went, you know, and hear what my mentality was at that point in time. So it's like really cool. It provides uh, a a space to like show what I've done, and then I can like look back and see how I grew from that point in time. But I really think it's important to like not be afraid to put yourself out there, but also being completely authentic with who you are and like creating content that you enjoy. So
Yeah, that's great advice. I think on the enjoyment part, like it makes it so much more sustainable to put out videos that you enjoy and that like you said, like that you would watch. For a time there with my Instagram content, you know, I felt like it was becoming a chore. And typically when that happens, it's like when you're in like a toxic relationship, right? Like it's not going to end well. So I fell off, and then it it takes a dive for a while. That's really important to put out that valuable content while it's something that you enjoy. And I mean that can extend into your work life, personal life, all that stuff. Really good point there, dude.
yeah, to reflect a little bit on that, like about a year ago, or maybe like 2 years ago at this point, like I was doing primarily like vlogs at the time, and vlogs weren't really something that I like personally enjoyed doing that much, especially if I was like showing a lot of my day. Like I'm not someone that likes to walk around with the camera. I like do all that stuff. But like I always really enjoyed recording my training, maybe like doing a voiceover, being informative and educational about what I'm doing. But like I hadn't really realized that. So I was like doing these vlogs, and like they were getting a decent amount of views, uh, which was nice, and kept me going on. It wasn't content that I really enjoyed. And then eventually I just like really fell off, became like super inconsistent with my YouTube. And like I didn't actually like really start getting consistent with it again until I was creating this content that I actually enjoyed making. And it just feels way, way better, and it's way more sustainable, like you said. And like it's something you can continue doing for a while because you enjoy making it. So
Yeah, yeah. Dude, I haven't got a chance to check them all out, but I think like I'm just gonna throw them on in the background while I'm working throughout the next couple of days. But I watched the most recent, which was, I guess there's one out today, right? As of
yeah,
right.
it'll be a full day of eating today.
Got you. So I watched, I guess the second most recent video, and I watched the first one in the series. And just the way really are, you're really good at voicing over your training and talking about different techniques people can pick up, your intent behind these things, just explaining kind of like the program in general. It was really good. I liked it. I have a lot of the same thoughts, and I think you brought up some great points that I wouldn't have even thought of. But on that note, I'm really interested to hear like training philosophies, kind of like the X's and O's of what your routine looks like, especially now that you're gearing up for a show, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now I'm training 6 days a week. And I'm on prep on track to do my first show in, I think it's like 6 weeks from now. So I started this prep process 12 weeks ago. Um, I started prep at like 3,500 calories or something, which was like super high to start a prep diet at, I feel like. And like I didn't really lose much weight right away, but basically we titrated down in the following weeks, and now I've been at like 25, 30 for the past like 7 weeks or something. Like I've been doing the same amount of calories for so long, and I've just been chipping away, and body weight is just falling off and getting leaner every week. But yeah, I train 6 days a week. I train with like push pull legs type of variant. I start with pull, and then I do push, and then I do legs. That's usually just what works best for me. And it makes the most sense in order to get the volume in, do the exercises that I want to do. And I think my training is most reflective of the RP principles. So I usually start every cycle at somewhere around like my minimum effective volume, and then I titrate up to my maximum recoverable volume. As a mesocycle goes on, usually my mesocycles are like 4 to 5 weeks, and then I'll deload for a week. And well, that last week is where I'll be training at like 0 reps in reserve, whereas I start the mesocycle at 3 reps in reserve. So progressions within the mesocycle are, with volume, with intensity, with weight. And then when a new mesocycle starts, I might introduce some different rep ranges, perhaps some different exercises. If some exercises are causing me like wear into the joints, just aren't feeling so good, or like for me during prep are causing an undue amount of fatigue that is just screwing up my SFR, my stimulus to fatigue ratio, that is. So yeah, that's like kind of like the overall aspect of what my training looks like right now.
Yeah, man. I think very similar to my philosophies because we have similar influences, of course. Let's see. For example, let's say just to give the people some practical takeaways when it comes to training. Like I remember on the first video of the prep series, you had like a bent over barbell row. Is that something that's still in the program now, or is that something that, like you mentioned, you had to take out due to constraints of prep?
Yeah, yeah. So that is actually an exercise that I just took out for this current mesocycle. I just started mesocycle 3 of my prep. So the first two, I did have the bent over row in there, and I did that in the 6 to 10 rep range, the first mesocycle, and then the 8 to 12 rep range. So slowly getting a little bit lighter, like using a bit of higher rep ranges. But yeah, it was very interesting to have the bent row in there because it's a big exercise that requires a lot of like a lot of oomph. And like it was one of those exercises that are like loaded the most heavy. And as you go through prep or like a fat loss phase, your leverages change, like your stomach gets smaller. So like if you're using technique standardization, you have like literally a longer way to go with the bent over row. So I think I like started the mesocycle, the first one, at like I can actually check here at 205 pounds, and like for the bent row. And like as the mesocycle progressed, like I was progressing much slower on that movement in comparison to how I progressed it during like massing, for example. So like I realized pretty early on that this was going to be a difficult exercise to progress, or even to just maintain. So after my like next mesocycle, I like was doing it in the 8 to 12 rep range, and it was also like very difficult to maintain performance. So eventually it became an exercise that I like was getting a decent amount of stimulus from, but I was also getting a lot of fatigue from. So it was an exercise that I decided for this mesocycle to switch out for something else. And what I'm doing now in place of that is actually a superset, but it's between a deficit, a bent over row to chest, supersetted with a deficit bent over row. So with that, I'm able to use much less weight. I'm actually only using, like I only used 95 pounds for this first week. So that's like literally like 50% of the weight that I started with at mesocycle 1, but I still get a really good stimulus from it. And I get much less fatigue because there's a lot less weight involved. So that's really how I like went about switching that exercise out. Of course, it was a little bit sad for me because the bent over row is something that I enjoy so much, especially when I'm massing. That's like probably my favorite back movement to do. But it was one that I had to let go of. So,
Dude, I'm right there with you. I have a cambered bar, and that cambered bar bent over row for me it's money. Um,
those sound awesome, dude. I've never used one before.
yeah, I've just been recently working it in the rotation of my pressing, and at first it was real like sketchy on my left shoulder whatever reason, I've never
Sure,
had,
that range of motion.
yeah, but I just slowly worked it, started increasing my warm up times, doing a little bit more of a dynamic warm up than I used to. And like I Monday, I started an incline, about 3-inch incline on the cambered bar incline bench. And dude, it's crazy. Big fan of those. So it
Yeah.
just goes to show on a kind of overarching principle though, like especially when you're cutting as a power lifter or a bodybuilder, those leverages change, the uh ranges of motion change, and it can make a big difference. So that's a great point you brought up there too, my man.
Hmm. Yeah, the stimulus to fatigue ratio is really something that you have to pay attention to, like during a contest prep or during a fat loss phase, because like you really want to be accumulating as little fatigue as possible, but still getting a really good stimulus. Because if you run around with too much fatigue, like you'll really run yourself into the ground. So, yeah, it's definitely a point in time where SFR is even more important than normal.
Yeah, really good insights with the training takeaways there. And to kind of transition from that, I'm really interested to hear just like what are some of your goals in general, as far as we'll break it down into a couple things, like goals after PT school is done, competitive goals, any other goals you might have. Hit me with them, dude.
All right. So, yeah, so I have 3 years left of school. So I'm about like halfway done, and I do have some goals as far as like school goes. Like I really like my goal with really everything is to do my best. So that counts for school, and that counts for social media. Like I really want to get somewhere with social media too, and that's something that I haven't really really committed to in the past, but that's something that I'm really committing to now and for the future. So it's really going to be like a lot to be doing, like 18 credits in school, but really trying to get somewhere on social media, like being consistent with everything. Um, but my goal for everything is always to do my best, and I think that that's something that a lot of times people consider doing your best to be like something that like isn't very good. It's like where someone performs on something, there's like, well, at least you did your best, you know. But like actually doing your best is like really putting all your effort into it, learning as much as you can for whatever it is that you're doing, and just putting all your effort into it, and not leaving anything on the table. Because I think for me at least, if I don't do my best for something, and like I realize that I kind of half-assed it, like then I'll be quick to beat myself up about it. And if I know that I do my best, then there's nothing that I can beat myself up about. And and like it's a lot easier for me to accept however things go. So that's like my big overarching goal for anything. So for PT, you know, that means to like get good grades in my classes, and also to like I'll have some clinicals actually coming up towards the end of my schooling, which will be really fun. But that's also a spot where I'll be able to experience some different settings in PT. And when PT is actually over, I do have some goals. I would like to have my own physical therapy practice at some point. I feel like that is something that's heavily influenced by like what I have done with my like content creation, with online coaching. I do some of that as well. Um, I like sell workout programs and stuff, but I've been like pretty much self-employed for the past like 3 to 4 years. So I definitely have like some bias towards hopefully being self-employed for the rest of my life too, because that's just how I like to do things at this point. I feel like going back into being employed would be interesting, unless it was for like RP or something like that. That could be a goal too one day. uh, but yeah, that's like my post-school goals. As far as competitive goals go, I really want to be the best natural bodybuilder I can possibly be. I think it would be like I for sure want to get my pro card in a few different federations. I don't really know how all the federations work in natural bodybuilding. There's just so many. So I feel like there's a lot of pro cards that you can get. But I know through the NANBF, that you can get your pro card through the IPE, I believe. But I would love to go to like long-term goals in natural bodybuilding. I think would be to compete at WNBF Worlds. That would be incredible. I don't even know if I can get to that stage, but if I could, I think that would be a huge, like, that's probably like my most lofty natural bodybuilding goal I have. But yeah, that's where I'm at with competitive goals. And then with YouTube, um, I don't know, getting like to like 50K subscribers would be super cool. So that's like doubling where I'm at right now. And yeah, that's probably where I'm at.
Dude, I love it. The fact that you've been self-employed since you were like 17, 18 too, that's impressive. Like
Mhm.
I now know, as I've been doing it for over a year and a half, being self-employed, it has so many benefits, a lot of perks. Um, but it's not easy. It's very tough to keep yourself disciplined and like on track, on point with everything. So how do you
Yeah.
keep yourself um, in line and able to balance everything with the demands of, like you said, 18 credit hours at a pretty tough program, I'm sure.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, like it definitely is very difficult. Some things that I do that like help me a lot, whether I'm feeling overwhelmed or like just need to like get like clear my mind is like journaling. Journaling is something that I've done for a couple of years now, and that's something that like always makes me feel better and allows me to like take a look at things from a more like rational perspective and not like so emotional, like holy crap, I'm super overwhelmed, like this is a lot to deal with. So that's something that really helps me. But also really just trying to not multitask. Like for me, I can't multitask. I need to like do one thing at a time, and that way I'll also be able to like get specific things done quicker. Like if you're multitasking, you're going to get whatever you're done uh either like with worse quality or it's going to take longer to get done. So I'm definitely big on not multitasking. I think that's just BS that people can do that. But yeah, that's probably what I would say. But since you're also self-employed, like what kind of advice would you have?
Yeah, for me, man, it is all about the to-do lists and reflecting back on your goals. So I actually have like one of these books. It's kind of like similar to journaling, but I guess it integrates like journaling and a daily planner, and it just sets out like monthly goals, weekly goals, and then 3 goals daily. And so that's something I always try to do is like just the minimum shit, like get those 3 goals a day done. And it
Mhm.
sounds stupid, but like even some days I'll put like on one of my goals, just like post 2 times, like stuff that might not really move the needle forward in business, like a huge amount, but just the momentum that you can get from getting those little goals done is really big. And yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie, like the whole multitasking is something that I've also had to like come to terms with because so I do like I have like a personal training studio and online coaching. I used to always just really feel that I would get behind with my online coaching. Like I would always check in, but like be up late on a Sunday night knocking out everybody's programs for the week, which just adds up and stresses you out over time. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I'm sure a lot of people have.
Mhm.
Um, I think shifting my attention to really like focus on one thing, like you said, one thing at a time, whether that's me blocking all my personal training clients in like the morning so I have a solid chunk of time in the afternoon that I can really devote toward online stuff, is it's key for me because I used to be like really flexible with my schedule with people, and I would be running back, I can't really even complain because the personal training studio is on the property of where I live. So I'd run outside,
Mhm.
do an hour session, and then you kind of have to get back in the zone of doing your online work. And it might take me 10 to 15 minutes to get back in the zone. and then I'm right back outside after an hour. So it would just really mess with my ability to focus my attention and my time effectively. So a couple things there, but yeah, dude, it's a grind for all of those out there that are kind of like on the same path as what Max and I are doing. I think don't get discouraged with yourself wherever you're at right now. Just try to be a little better each day. And eventually you'll get to a point where things are flowing pretty smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, dude, that's got to be like a lot to be doing, like in-person personal training and doing online and like also finding time to do like podcasts with like a bunch of people. Like you know a lot of podcasts, and I think they're all great. There's so much information in all of them. So many great guests that you have on, and it's awesome, man. Yeah, that's super cool.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. I mean, honestly, I'd liken it to like the schedule demands that you have, because you have your classes that you go to, you got to study, you got to put in the test time. Like the time is fleeting. So, you just got to try to, it's a tough balance, dude. Like enjoying life, whether for me it's going out every once in a while, or like playing games with the boys from school, catching up with everybody. It's tough, dude. You got to make some sacrifices, but at the end of the day, like I don't know how you are on this. There's some people that really just grind and they'll make those sacrifices. Like I am 100% honest. I'm okay with sacrificing a little bit of income to enjoy that work-life balance. Everybody's got a different perspective and everybody's got different needs, whether it's financially or just for their own personal drive. But that's kind of what I've come to the conclusion of, as well as I've been doing this for the several months that I have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. And and also I think for a lot of us that like are self-employed, like we all have a very like for at least the things that I do and the schedule that I stick to, and like getting as much done as I do, like it all gives me a super like deep sense of purpose and meaning that like I just can't get from doing anything else. So that's definitely something that like keeps me going, and like keeps me consistent with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's really cool. Dude, I really think you're killing it for where you're at right now. Like you're ahead of the game, bro. For 21, you got some cool shit going on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, bro. Well, I want to get into a couple of like fun, just get to know Max questions a little bit. So I'll just come up with some shit off the top of my head. The one that I always like to ask people, what does an ideal day look like to you, dude?
Ooh, an ideal day for me. Let's see. I literally feel like an ideal day for me would just be the same shit I do every day.
That's great. That's crazy.
uh like as boring as that is, like like what I did today, for example, is I wake up pretty early. I usually wake up at like 6:30. I'll have my breakfast. I'll go for a morning walk, which I like have been doing more recently, which I really enjoy. And like I'm able to get out in the sun and maybe listen to a podcast or just listen to the birds outside and enjoy being in nature for a part of my day. And then I'd say if it was like a dream day, perhaps I would like come in, enjoy like maybe doing some video editing. I honestly enjoy video editing, and it's like fun to like get into a flow of it. Uh, because then like 2 hours can be gone like nothing, and you're just like, well, 2 hours are gone, but like I created this cool thing. Um, then I'd say like I'd go to the gym pretty soon after that, and then I'd come back and then really just chill out for the rest of the day, whether it be like one show I've been watching recently is Peaky Blinders. I recommend if anyone hasn't seen it. Um, I'd probably do that. And maybe take some edibles if it's that kind of day. And get my journaling later in the day, go to bed early. That's really like my dream day.
I feel that, bro. I feel that big time. Yeah, very cool. If you were to change one thing, and I know a lot of people say like, oh, bro, I wouldn't change one thing because everything I've done to this point makes me who I am. But let's say you were to do any one thing in your either fitness or like entrepreneurial or academic journey. If you were to change one thing, what would it be?
Ooh. I think I would have started bodybuilding sooner and not done powerlifting for a while, because like I have really enjoyed doing bodybuilding in these past few years. Um and like I was definitely like just quite the bro. Well, like not really the bro in the sense that I would only train like chest and arms or something like that, but like the bro in that like I thought I needed to be like maxing out and stuff for to like gain muscle. Like I needed to be, you know, this strong, like deadlift 405 in order to have big arms, when that's not how that's related at all. So like I feel like in a bodybuilding sense, I definitely wasted a bit of time like doing some of that stuff, but like at the same time, like it was all stuff that like I needed to experience in order to like enjoy where I am now. But that's probably what I would have done. And also before I got into lifting, I would have educated myself a little bit on how to lift properly, so I started off with an injury.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be an important like little distinction to make, especially that's good that you came back from it then, man, because like the fact that they told you you shouldn't squat or deadlift, that's tough to hear, but like, hey, I mean, I would have
Yeah.
done the same thing. I'd have been like, nah, fuck them doctors, like let's go to the gym.
Yeah. 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 And then down the line, I become a doctor myself.
The biggest fuck,
I'm gonna be a good one.
right?
Yeah. Right.
Dope, dude. Let's see here. All right, top three foods that you would go to on a mass.
Huh. I was really hoping you were gonna say top three foods. Um, I so I had Korean barbecue like 2 months ago. I was on prep and it was an all you can eat place, and I couldn't do all you can eat. So it just like mistakes were made in that sense. Like I was able to like have have the Korean barbecue, but I wasn't able to like really dig in and have as much as I want. So that's for sure something that like it's not really a food, I suppose it would be a cuisine. But that was incredible. Other foods on a mass, I love bagels with peanut butter. Bagels with peanut butter are so good. That's something that like, dude, honestly, right now I could go ahead and eat like a sleeve of bagels, like 6 bagels with peanut butter, and be cool with it.
Damn.
I could totally do that right now. Um, and then another one, I would say this is like more like dirty food, but something that like I like during massing, I'm definitely not gonna hold myself back from, is crab meat rangoons from just Chinese restaurants, dude. Holy shit.
Yeesh.
Yeah, love
Why did I
those.
ask that question? I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too. Now I want to go say fuck my prep and go get some crab rangoons.
Have you had any really tough moments in prep so far? Like you were like, fuck.
um Yeah, a little bit. So this past week, I actually went home to celebrate my older sister's wedding, and there was just a lot of like really good food at the wedding that like I had some of, but I really needed to hold myself back. Like I totally could have like flown off the handle, had like a bunch of pizza, had like tons of cake and just tons of bread, and just I could have had so much more food than what I had. So I feel like that was like a very difficult time period, but also like the other times when I was at home for that week, like there were donuts around the house, there was candy around the house, like just constantly. So it was just like a constant decision I was making with myself to like not eat these foods and hold myself back. So that was definitely probably the hardest time I've had throughout this prep so far. And like for that last week, I expected to be on maintenance calories, but I ended up having to continue pushing the deficit throughout that deload. So like I was like, oh, dude, that really sucks. Like I really can't experience the foods that like I wanted to at home. So I feel like that was definitely the hardest part so far this prep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's little things like that that can trip people up, but I mean, I feel like you seem to have almost like made that agreement with yourself, like you said, like you gotta lock it in and just keep grinding. So that's a good point to make as well. Like I think holding yourself accountable, and for me, my biggest thing used to be like I would make small concessions, be like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll just do a little bit more cardio, or like, nah, I can fit this in if I take away from my sixth meal of the day. And this shit just never pans out, bro. Like I'll be skipping that extra cardio, or I'll be just eating the regular meal for meal six. So that accountability definitely shows like one, your work ethic and character, but two, like I think a great piece of advice for people out there is just don't, if you say you're going to do something, do it and don't make little concessions here and there because that shit adds up.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. Yeah, like it's like and it would also just like hurt me mentally to like really like go off plan and be like doing all this shit that I didn't plan to do. Like I would definitely like look back on that and be like, well, that's a spot where I didn't do my best as prep, and that's a spot where I could have continued like sticking on my plan and like gotten the results that I wanted to get. So yeah, I don't like commit to something and just fully commit to it. Like of course you can have like times where you are eating off plan or something like that, but definitely don't make it a habit. And yeah, that's what I would say for that.
Yeah, dude. Well, Max, I feel like this has been a banger of a podcast. One of the best I've had in a minute. We're getting toward a little bit over that hour mark. So I want to ask you one more question. Under the presumption, or I guess the theoretical view that, let's say, what was it, 19 or 18, 20-year-old Max, let's say he never talked to Dr. Mike at that St. Louis show. What advice would you give to that guy, that kid, the youth? What would you say to him, knowing what you know now, back in your uncertainty of that time?
I would say continue learning as much as you can. There is so much you can learn in this bodybuilding sport or in fitness as a whole. There's just literally an unlimited amount of information you can learn. There's so many super smart people out there that provide like just great educational content, which for the most part is free right now. But you know, there are like forums out there to be a part of, like the Team Full Round forum. David and I are both part of that, and like we've met so many cool people there. There's so much great information going around. But like building your knowledge, I think, is the number one thing that anybody can do to like progress themselves as a person, to become a better trainee, to become a better person in the fitness space, to you know, be an educational like person for people to learn from in the fitness space. I just think that knowledge is like the thing that everybody should strive to gain, and that can eventually really become priceless. And knowledge also brings people together. So like while you might not be in like a state where you can, like, you know, meet Dr. Mike at X bodybuilding show, whatever it is, like you will meet people that like really mess with you and are really aligned with your goals and like with you are as a person. You'll meet like-minded people. The time will come, but until then, I think it's really important to keep learning as much as you can, and just do your best in whatever you do.
Mic drop.
Let's go.
Well, guys, this has been episode 53 of the Trainer Scoop podcast. I appreciate y'all for checking out the episode. Thank you, Max, for being here. And I really did enjoy this episode, dude. It was really good. Definitely leaves me feeling recharged. All the podcasts do, but this one especially, it's just a good feeling to, like you said, knowledge brings people together. Share knowledge, put it out to people so that they can take away some good little practical insights. Max, tell the people exactly where they can find you for everything that you have coming in the future.
All right. Well, first off, I definitely want to extend a big thank you to David for having me on. This has been a great time. I've really enjoyed doing this podcast. And yeah, you can find me on a few different platforms. I'm on YouTube at Max Strazny. I'm on Instagram at Max Strazny, and I'm on TikTok at Max Strazny. And if you're interested in coaching, you can check out my website, max.strazny.com. And I also do have a podcast that I've done with a friend of mine. I haven't posted on there in a while, but it's called Meathead University Podcast on Spotify and YouTube if you're interested in that. But yeah, that's me. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast.
Yes, sir. Good stuff. All those things will be linked in the description, whether you're on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Guys, really appreciate y'all for listening once again. Please go support Max on all those platforms. See what he has coming for this show. He's going to be looking absolutely nuts. I'll see y'all in episode 54.